Hey guys, Darren Asbury here with Revital Outdoors. Very, very excited to bring you another podcast. This podcast is going to be a little different from some of the ones you've been seeing. We've got Mr. Kevin Drake. Kevin won the BFL Volunteer Division on Lake Chickamauga this past weekend. Very excited to have him on. We're going to talk about his tournament, talk about the baits he used, how he put together the victory, and what he looks forward to for the rest of the year. Real quick, we're Revital Outdoors. We're a premium CBD company. If you've never heard of a CBD or Revital Outdoors, be sure to check out our website. We've got all the information about all of our products there, as well as information about joining our pro staff. And then make sure you're following us on Facebook and Instagram. And then go ahead and hit that subscribe button on this YouTube channel. That way you get subscribed to our channel. You get notified when all of our content is dropping. And be sure to do that because we have a lot of content coming in the near future. We're interviewing all these BFL anglers, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. So that being said, let's go ahead and bring him in from Tennessee, Mr. Kevin Drake. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Hey, thanks for taking the chance to come on with us this evening. I know it's the middle of the work week, but it's really an honor for us to have you on Revital Outdoors. And just first and foremost, I want to say congratulations on this last weekend. Wins are hard to come by. And it's great to see a guy like yourself walk away with it.
Hey, I appreciate it. And, they certainly are hard to come by. And, a stage with the BFL or a Toyota Series, those big events. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good fishermen that you're competing with, and, what a way to come out and get a win. Really, I'm just super glad, just.
Right. Well, good for you. Well, not only are you a great angler, you walked away victorious in the first BFL Volunteer Division event this year. You're on a lake that's known for a lot of good anglers, a lot of hammers. A lot of people have cut their teeth on Lake Chickamauga. So let's talk about you a little bit. Have you lived in the area your whole life? How often do you fish Chickamauga? What makes Chickamauga so special to you?
Well, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, and moved to Cleveland, Tennessee, where I live now when I was 13 years old. And I'd say when I was about 15, 16, my mom bought me a 1980-something model Bumblebee with an old Evinrude on it.
Awesome.
And had a lot of mechanical problems with that boat. But I got out there. There's a local lake just up the road from my house here, and it's called Parksville. It's just a mountain lake with spotted bass, deep, clear water. And I just basically fished that lake a lot for about 5 or 6 years, and maybe even more than that. But I didn't really start fishing Chickamauga a whole lot until about maybe 7, 8 years ago. And it was about a year or two before that the rig came out. And just you had that big rig craze, and Chickamauga was just absolutely unbelievable. I mean, back then, it was tournament weights. 30 pounds left and right, and it was unbelievable. But, I started fishing Chickamauga more and more about 7, 8 years ago, and the last few years have been incredible.
Good for you. So we'll talk to us about your tournament. First and foremost, did you practice at all? And if so, how many days? And what did you find what was special about the fish that you caught that you found? Was it an area or a group of fish? Just kind of, help us understand how you pieced together getting the victory.
Well, I said something about 7, 8 years ago when I started fishing Chickamauga more and more. It was about that time, the first year or two, I really started coming to fish Chickamauga, and it was in the wintertime. And I remember we have conditions like we did now. Back then, I got on a certain bite in this one area, just low 40-degree water, and was able just to catch some big fish and a couple big bags back then on an A-rig.
Mm-hmm.
And I've not really seen that area or that bite produce in the last 4 or 5 years, and that's just something I thought about this week, and I decided to check up on it. And sure enough, there's some good action going on. So I had that in my back pocket, and I covered a lot of water throughout the rest of the lake and just tried to get as much as I could just going into that tournament. And I ended up pre-fishing 4 days out of the week leading up to the tournament. And there's a lot of just slow fishing, and I did end up finding a couple places, main lake and the backwater areas, and I had one main area, that's for sure. So,
okay. Were you making a long run?
I was running. My initial run from Dayton was ran down lake towards the lower end, is the Saudi Creek area. So it's about maybe a 15 to 18 minute run. So it was a little bit chilly.
Okay. Talk to us about the fish were you catching? I don't suspect you were catching pre-spawn fish this time of year, the cold weather, the cold water. you were catching fish in the winter pattern. So, how deep were you letting that A-rig sink? Were they relating to points or secondary point staging areas? Like what were you able to find that was really holding the fish, or did you just have to, kind of constantly go through areas until you finally caught the fish that you caught?
Well, that is one thing. I mean, I had to cover a lot of water, and but the biggest thing is the last few years, a good bite that I've been on is fishing more drops, ledges, drops, whatever, this time of year. But that's the thing, 7, 8 years ago when we were really doing well with the rig bite, we're fishing more bluff walls and steeper banks with brush, stumps, rock, stuff like that. And that's actually what seemed to be the difference for me this week. And I've not seen stuff like that produced in quite a long time. So, but yeah, I'm just covering a lot of water, fishing wind-blown banks, stuff that has just snaggy stuff on it. And that really, those fish were really sitting on stumps, brush, and you just pair that up with the live scope and just really target your cast. And that's what I really focused on, just fished hard and, ultimately came up with what I had,
How many rods on the deck of the boat did you have when you left out that morning?
I had 5 rods, and normally I'll have 7, 8, 9 rods, just depending on what's going on. But I had 2 silver buddies tied on. I had 2 Alabama rigs tied on, and then I had a jerkbait tied on.
Okay. So the report said from Major League Fishing that you caught your fish predominantly on an A-rig. Is that accurate? Did you catch all your keepers on an A-rig?
Every single one of them.
Okay.
About a week and a half before the tournament, I went out fun fishing a couple times, and there was a good lipless bite, silver buddies, rail trap, stuff like that. And the water stained, and it was up, and fish seemed like they were up on flats and stuff like that. And, but since then, it's cooled off a lot more. The water temps dropped a lot, and the water level has dropped a lot, and the water's also cleaned up a lot. So it seemed like it turned into more of an A-rig deal. And usually a jerkbait works well too, but for some reason, this entire week pre-fishing, I just could not get them to react to a jerkbait at all, period.
Okay.
But they're there. You could get them to come up and look at it, follow it. It could not get them to bite. So that kind of frustrated me a little bit. But the A-rig, they're hitting it, So.
Okay. So
we'll talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk to us a little bit about your A-rig. Don't want you to give up too much information, but there's a lot of different variations of the A-rig out there. Guys are putting swim baits on the back of them. Some guys are putting grubs on the back of them. Some guys are changing up the colors of the swim baits. What's your kind of go-to? Does your A-rig have a lot of blades on it as well as swim baits? And are you using bright colored swim baits or maybe translucent, more shad pattern? Like what's your standard setup on a A-rig?
Well, the last couple of years, just because I've been fishing BFLs and the Toyo series, I've just been using the BFL legal A-rig, which is a max of 5 blades, 5 wires, 5 baits, 3 hooks.
Right.
And so I've been sticking with that the last couple of years. But I will say when it gets really, really cold like this, and my buddy's been fishing one that doesn't fish any of these tournaments, a 7-wire, 12-blade rig, just a much bigger profile. It will, a lot of the time, draw more bites and sometimes bigger bites. But obviously I can't do that right now. So, but believe it or not, this past week it seemed like I was getting a better bite on a smaller, more compact rig, which is why I went with the Umbrella Flash Mob Junior.
Okay.
And I tried several different 5 wires. I actually made a couple myself. I tried I've got a couple of hog farmers, and they just weren't getting the bites that Umbrella was getting this week. And it just seemed like that smaller rig just made a difference for me this week. And, I was watching on the live scope, comparing this rig and that rig and seeing how fish were reacting to it during practice. And, it was unbelievable. You could throw just a normal size 5-wire, 5-blade or 4-blade rig in there with the same swim baits. And they wouldn't even come up to it or follow it or anything. And then you throw that Umbrella, that small rig in there, and there could be 5 or 6 of them come at it just all at once. And I could not believe the difference. And I'm glad I kind of figured that out. And that was a big key. So.
Okay. How far were you letting that? Like, what depth were your strikes coming in? Like, how far were you letting it sink down?
I feel like most, as far as strikes go, I feel like most of the fish I feel like they were coming out 15 to 20 foot of water, and sometimes the shallows maybe 8 to 10. that is pretty deep for Chickamauga, honestly. But like I said, I was fishing these deeper banks, and I would just basically get a cast up there with 5, 6, 7 feet from the bank, and I just let it sink. Sometimes you let it sink too far, you get stuck, but that's how it goes. But I just try to get it down there, and I just start slow rolling, just try to get the fall that the line, the bank, and just keep an eye on the live scope. And a lot of those fish, they would just come out of nowhere. Sometimes you wouldn't see them, especially if they're sitting on brush or a stump. You may not always see them, but you just know you need to make that cast and get it up there. And you just see them come out. And a lot of these fish are short striking. They are following, not committing to it. But overall, ended up working out.
Good for you. Good for you. So, well, just out of curiosity, what was the water temperature, and were you catching your fish all day? Or did it take all day to get your limit? What was kind of the feeding window there?
Well, it seemed like later midday to the end of the tournament was the best time for me. From 11 o'clock on. But I made my first stop on a place that 4 years ago, I remember I pulled up, same exact conditions as January, very cold water in the 40s, low 40s. I pulled up on this place, just fun fishing 4 years ago, and I ended up catching one just under 10 off the spot on the rig, and two casts prior to that. And I lost a fish that felt like a 9 or 10 pound plus fish. So I had that in the back of my head. And during practice, I looked at it and I actually saw some fish there. So I just decided to start there and just see if I could just luck up and get a big fish to start the day. And, ended up starting there on my 5th cast. I caught my second biggest fish of the day, which is about 5.5. But that's the only bite I had there, but that is a great start. You can start off like that.
Fantastic.
After that, I went about 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours without even boating the fish. I had a couple of little just light bites, and that was it. And I decided to make a change and go fish some stuff that wasn't very good during the week, which is actually on the main lake. There's a lot of current on the main lake leading up to this tournament, but they cut that current in half. And I feel like I felt like possibly I could get some bites out there on the main lake. Went out there and ended up getting my limit pretty quickly. And they were just smaller fish, but I got my limit, and that really took the pressure off for the rest of the day. And I just went back to my main area and just focused on it and just fished it hard and just hoped for 1 or 2 good bites,
Correct. So, well, Kevin, it's been an honor having you on our podcast. You gave us a lot of great information. We're going to kind of wrap things up here, but I want to give you the opportunity. Wins are hard to come by. It's really awesome to see a guy like you that is a local angler, very humble. You try hard. Sounds like you put your homework in before the tournament, so that's awesome. And it's just really great to see you win one. But talk to us. Is there anybody that you want to thank, friends or family or sponsors? And then we also want to know, what's your goals for the rest of the year in 2022 for the BFL volunteer division? I
appreciate it. Yeah, I definitely have a lot of people to thank. I had a lot of people that have called and messaged me, since the tournament. And I really appreciate that. And I really, really do. The support's just awesome. But as far as I've got a couple of buddies that, just have good relationships with Fishtails here in Cleveland, Tennessee. It's just a local tackle shop here in Cleveland. The owner, Jamie Tanksley, I'm a good friend with him, and he's a real nice guy. He's got a great shop. If you're ever around Cleveland or Chickamauga and you have time, check him out. I would appreciate that. And he's got a great shop, huge selection of stuff. And the other guy's Joe Burns. He's got he builds rods, custom rods, and which they sell at Fishtails. And just a great rod. He's a great guy. I've fished tournaments against him for years around here, and just a real great guy. And he builds a good rod. Just check it out. I'd appreciate that. But as far as that goes, I've also got, Phoenix. I'm not sponsored by Phoenix or anybody, but I love the boat. I just got my Phoenix about a year ago, exactly a year ago from the tournament date, just this past weekend, actually. And I came out of an older boat, and that was a 16.5 footer, so it was a big upgrade. But yeah, I love the boat. It's an awesome boat, and the contingency money that the possibility of that, it's well worth it. And just like this past weekend, that was awesome. And the mercury behind that boat, it's been great. So, the main thing is I appreciate all the calls and the messages from everybody. I really do. So.
Fantastic. Well, Kevin, good luck with the rest of this year. We hope to see you do well. I know you will. A lot of great tournament up ahead of this year for 2022, and
Right.
you never know. We might be talking to you at the end of the year, talking
I
about
hope
your
so.
angler of the year and going to the regional. So,
That'd
Kevin,
be
it's been
awesome.
an honor having you on. From all of us at Revital Outdoors, thank you for tuning into this podcast. Again, be sure you go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're very, very happy to have Mr. Kevin Drake, the winner, once again for the Lake Chickamauga Volunteer Division this past weekend in Tennessee. So just thank you so much for being on, and God bless. Be safe out there, and we're going to talk to everyone very, very soon.